Oh, my friends, how much do we have to unpack here with the new LIV PGA Tour merger? if that's what you want to call it. So many people have been just going after this. And Tuesday, when I heard the news, I wanted to immediately jump on here and go for it and give my thoughts. But I waited. I held back. Today's Sunday. I wanted to see really, because we didn't know anything. We knew nothing. All we knew was that there was some type of merger, is what they called it. So immediately, like everybody else, I immediately thought LIV won the day, and that's what was going on. Like LIV won, the PGA Tour caved, they're out of money, they don't want to deal with the litigation and the lawsuits. They did whatever they could do to do something, and that's what I thought. Then all we knew was merger, but they didn't tell us what happened. Nothing was really revealed. Jay Monahan would say there's a lot left to work out. Okay, first off, we have to know this. When two companies, giant companies, where billionaires and 100 billionaires and like successful people and lawyers and all this stuff are involved, there's never stuff to work out after the fact. You pretty much hammer it out before the fact. Otherwise, you don't merge. So I didn't buy that one for a second. They knew what was going on. I just initially thought that, hey, here's what they're going to do. They're going to kind of slowly get this out to us, which I still believe they're doing, right? They're getting it all out to us in a slow fashion so it's more digestible. I initially thought that they were doing that so it was more digestible to the PGA Tour players. Now I think it's going to be something that needs to be slowly revealed to the LIV players. Because did they lose or what happened? And I think I know. I have a theory, and I'm going to throw it out there, and I think it could play out. And we'll see here, but it's slowly going in the direction of where I'm thinking. Not initially, but now, yes. My friends, this episode of the Mr. Short Game podcast is brought to you by the V1 Game app. There's a link in the video description below for you to check that out. A lot of it's free. Some of it requires a paid subscription. So go check the link for the latest prices, all that kind of good stuff. But what this does is it keeps track of your round. It's got a nice GPS in there. It gives you yardages while you're playing, diagrams of the hole. It keeps statistics of putting, short game, driving statistics, all kinds of detailed analysis is in there for you so that you can go back and review and see what areas of your game needs more practice. And what's cool is on the golf course, it will show you areas that you do well on and areas that you don't do so well, so that when you approach those holes the next time or in the future, you can help make better decisions while you're playing. It's a great app. I use it all the time while I'm playing. It's a V1 Game app. Link below. Now let's get back into today's podcast. Let's think about this. There's a new entity that encompasses the PGA Tour. It's everything, right? It's a DP World Tour. It's a PGA Tour. It's LIV Golf. It's all of it. This new entity, which is going to be called the PGA Tour. Okay, it's going to keep their name. They're going to keep their 501c3 nonprofit status, and they have a new governing body of this new entity, which is going to be made up of Jimmy Dunn, who helped broker the deal. By the way, he was working in the South Tower at 9/11, happened to be playing a like USGA Mid-Am or some qualifying or event. He was playing some event that day, and he didn't go to work. He had a lot of friends that died in the 9/11 attacks. He was part of brokering this deal. Ed Healy was part of it as well with Jay Monahan, and now Yasser Al-Rumayyan, also known as His Excellency, the man who was funding LIV, is part of this 4-person committee that now decides what goes on with the PGA Tour or I don't know if the DP World Tour is in there. Whatever. It's the PGA Tour, LIV, that golf. All right. So those are the 4 guys on this deal. Here's what's interesting. It's kind of like you get Bill Gates on the board of Apple. Like, that wouldn't work, right? If he's running Microsoft at the time, you don't put him on that board of Apple. So you're not going to have LIV and the PGA Tour coexisting any longer. I thought LIV was not going away. I now think LIV is going away. 100%. I believe LIV will be gone. I don't even know if they'll survive the rest of their scheduled season this year. I don't know why they would, to be honest with you, other than there's some contractual obligation. But I would imagine in those contracts, it gives LIV an out if something were to happen. And they might have some contracts with the places they're playing, but I don't know. There's always a way out. They may finish it out, but I think it will look more like a ghost town out there than a happening LIV party environment that we have been seeing, in over the course of the last year. I think that's gone. And His Excellency is now part of the PGA Tour, and LIV, what was LIV, or not LIV, but the PIF, the People's Investment Fund, which Yasser Al-Rumayyan is in control over. This $650 billion with the B, $billion fund, which, by the way, okay, this is why I thought LIV won, because that fund alone, the interest they make on that fund alone, interest funds LIV, including what they pay the players, what they pay out and everything, all the expense. The interest alone will cover the cost of all of it. And then they'll still have leftovers. So basically, LIV was free. It didn't cost them anything. They did all this with like house money. So they could go on forever, basically. They're not lowering the amount of billions of dollars they have in their fund at all. So why would His Excellency want to be part of PGA Tour? Here's what's interesting. I immediately reach out to my contact at LIV, and I ask this person, can I interview Greg Norman? I went for the top. Of course, I'm trying to do that. This is right away. I receive a message back pretty quickly that says, nobody on LIV is doing any media interview. Nobody. So nobody's doing anything. Bryson had already done an interview. Somehow he does one like probably pre this word to everybody that don't speak, don't say anything. You're in breach of your contract if you do, because to speak to media, it's in their contract that they have to get prior permission to do anything. So I believe Bryson did, and whoever did any little interviews stepped outside of the contract, and they quickly said, stop, don't do that. So Bryson got his out like ahead of the game is what I believe. So nobody's done any interviews, nobody's spoken. I believe the reason is because they are basically being told, pack your bags, we're shutting down the operations, and what we've done is come up with a plan for you to get back onto the PGA Tour. So His Excellency, here's what's interesting. The guy that paid everybody to leave the PGA Tour is now on the board of the PGA Tour, and part of the decision, he's one of the decision makers of how to get back onto the PGA Tour. That's an interesting position to be in. So how are they going to get back on the PGA Tour? I believe they're going to get right back on. The only pill that all the tour players are going to have to swallow is the fact that there's not going to really be a penalty for them. Now, they might come up with some thing that it is a penalty, but in reality, I don't believe it's going to be a penalty, and I believe His Excellency will cover if there's a cost. He'll make it right, and so they're like, hey, we had to pay a fine. Everybody's going to be mad, but His Excellency or whatever will pass out some money to cover all those expenses, is what I believe will happen if there is even a penalty for coming back. It's kind of really muddy waters at this point. A lot of people are talking about, oh, this has to pass the board. Look, it's already passed the board. You don't do all this without knowing what the board's going to do. You basically tell them what to do, is what all the money is doing. We're telling you what to do. You're going to do that. But why? Why would Yasser Al-Rumayyan, who started and funded LIV, why would he all of a sudden say, cool, now I'm part of the PGA Tour? What's the purpose of that? Why would he do such a thing? Okay, let's back up here. Greg Norman in the 90s wanted to start a league, like a World Golf Championships. He wanted to do that. He wanted to have a group of top tier tour players like, Greg Norman at the time, Freddie Couples, Nick Faldo. He wanted the big names at that time to have select events where they would just play against one another, no cut, and do that around the world. That was Greg Norman's idea. The tour squashed it. They lawsuits, all kinds of stuff. They said no and shut it down. Then the PGA Tour went and did it themselves, the World Golf Championships. And they have that to this day. That's always rubbed Greg Norman the wrong way. He's had an axe to grind the whole time. So he's always wanted to do a different league and format it a different way and do different things. And so over the course of the last 20 plus years, he's been an incredible businessman and done a lot of business dealings around the world and has met a lot of people, one of which would have been Yasser Al-Rumayyan, His Excellency. He meets him, whatever. They do some business deals along the way. And Greg Norman shares his idea because Yasser loves golf. Dude loves golf. I've met him a couple times. I've played in a few pro-ams there at the LIV events at Centurion. I played at Rich Harvest Farms and others. Okay. And guess who would show up and play a couple holes with us? His Excellency would do that. And so he's a nice person. Loves golf. Loves golf. And even like his bodyguard and his crew that's with him, they kind of laugh at him sometimes. It's a really cool to see a guy like that with that much power, with that much money. One time they were wondering where they're going to park their helicopter. They're talking about, like, what do we do with the helicopter? Where do we put the helicopter? Okay, this is the kind of problems they have. So, but the guy loves golf, passionate about golf. So, meets Greg Norman along the years, talks about the thing. So then the whole thing starts to transpire. They come up with this LIV idea. Here you go. Now, His Excellency, he just loves golf. He wants to be involved in golf. He wants to use, and Saudi, they want to use golf in whatever way they want to use it, whether it's sports washing or whatever. You can get political all day long if you wish, but nonetheless, they want to bring golf to Saudi Arabia. Okay, so how do they do that? Well, they have LIV. Why not just stick with LIV? They were about to sign Jon Rahm and Hideki Matsuyama. They were going to get more players. So why then would Yasser bail on Greg Norman? And this is what I think happened. One theory is that he had this concoction, this plan all from the beginning that I'm going to find a pawn, use him to my advantage, and then kick him to the curb, and so be it. I don't believe that was the case. I believe he met Greg and he got involved in LIV and he got a taste of what it was like, and he loves golf so much. And then he's been meeting with the tour people, with Jimmy Dunn, and with this Ed guy. Like, they've all been talking, and they're like, look, His Excellency, why don't you join us? And here's what we'll do. We'll give Saudi first right of refusal to sponsor all these events. And if you want to sponsor them, it's yours. You're the main sponsor, however you want to do that. If not, then we go down the line. So the PIP, they have first right of refusal of all these events now. Events will come to Saudi Arabia, and not only will you get not just the players that are LIV players, you'll get everybody. We'll get all the players there. The whole tour will be there, and there won't be this controversy. So I believe they worked with him in a way that a guy who loves golf is like, dude, I think he just loves golf, and they want to use it in the best way possible to bring golf to their country. They can bring LIV golf to their country, but it's not all of golf. I believe they want all of golf in their country in total, and they don't want this divide. They don't want just some players. They want all the best players in the world to come there and help promote it, and they want to be entrenched in the world of golf because it's a global sport. It reaches all ages, it reaches all people, and people of all different belief systems come together because of golf, and they find common ground. So I think that appealed to His Excellency, and he looked at it, didn't tell Norman or anybody anything, and said, all right, this makes sense for what we want to achieve. And therefore, I think they basically said, sorry, Greg Norman, you're out of town. You're out. See you later. We're going this direction. Thanks for the help. You're out. So I believe that who lost? Greg Norman, who started this whole thing, his idea, it appears as though they used it, and then they're like, you know what? We don't necessarily need that anymore because we can still be involved. I basically bought my seat at the table by doing what we did over the last year with LIV, and now we're going to shut it down, and we're going to come back, and I'm going to be a part of the main party of the whole thing, and not just have part of the thing. That's what I think has happened. So why aren't all these LIV people talking now? Because they are, fortunately, depending on where you stand on this issue, they're out. The players will probably be reinstated back on the PGA Tour most likely, but what about all the other players, all the international players that didn't have any PGA Tour status? Well, okay, cool. You made some money. You had a good run for a little while, and now you're kind of back to whatever it is you were doing pre-PGA Tour. You're going to be bouncing around different Asian tours, Canadian tour, whatever, mini tours that you were part of. Now that's probably where you're going to go again and try to fight to get back on to the PGA Tour, because I don't believe LIV is going to exist anymore. What has been reported is that Jay Monahan now decides whether LIV folds or not. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know what he's going to do. Jay Monahan doesn't want competition with the main tour, so he's going to bump it. And the sponsors don't want competition amongst the tours, so they don't want it. So I believe the LIV is gone. I do think and hope that the players on LIV get to play in the Ryder Cup this year, so that would be exciting. But as far as the players, they're out. How does that what do we do with the people like David Feherty, Jerry Foltz, Arlo White, like all these commentators? Feherty's out. They're not going to bring him back. Golf Channel's not NBC. They're not going to bring him back. He bailed. Those poor guys are out. In my opinion, I think they're the ones who kind of get the rawest end of the deal. It's just, see you later. You got to be here for a little while, but now you're out of a job, and I don't know how you get back into what you were doing, because these people are like, no, they don't have to hire you. You're not part of, let's say, the PGA Tour. You were with NBC or CBS, whatever company you were with at the time. Now you're just done. So it's a shakeup, and I think Greg Norman's vision and his wow, we finally did what I wanted to do for so long. It's going to be gone. And this whole LIV thing is going to be a blip on the radar screen. As the years go on, it'll just be a hiccup in the world of golf. It's only been less than a year since the very first LIV event. and it's gone. I mean, this has gone quicker than other things that have gone. This was pretty quick, in my opinion, in the world we live in, of things that come and things that go. I'm not going to say it. You know what I'm talking about. But let me know your thoughts, because this is a wild and crazy time in the world of golf. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm spot on the money. I'm probably close to correct, closer to that side than the other side. We'll see. But I think the LIV, initially I thought it would live. I thought LIV would live on and not go anywhere. Now, I think it's gone. It's going to be gone quicker than it came. Let me know what you think. Exciting though. Thanks for watching. See you next time.